What's good, guys? So in this video we are going to be talking about the best and the fastest way that you can learn no code. Essentially, if I was starting out today, how would I go about learning no code? What kind of techniques would I be using? What kind of tools would I be using? What kind of shortcuts would I be using? And so in today's video, I'm going to be telling you exactly what you need to do if you're just starting out with no code, or if you even want to accelerate your knowledge where you are right now and you want to take it to the next level. All right. And so when we think about no code, there's something important you have to understand. You kind of have to take back and look at the big picture, right? So if you look at this diagram, we have a problem, okay? And we have a solution. This solution is the no code tool. And what is the problem? The problem is what we're trying to do, the app that we want to build, and not even the app. It's what are we trying to do? Are we trying to get customers easier access to ticket sales, to concerts? Are we trying to, enable people to meet others for dating or, serious relationships or marriage, such as a dating app? Are we looking to get, people matched up with a driver, as in the case with a, like a taxi service like Uber? We always have a problem and we always have a solution. And building up on this knowledge, there are primarily two ways that you can go about in terms of learning no code. The first way is by going out and learning these tools. So for instance, you're going to go to Bubble, you're going to go to Appgyver, you're going to go to Adalo, you're going to go to Backendless, you're going to go to Thunkable, you're going to go to all of these tools. Maybe you're going to watch some of the videos that I have on my channel. Maybe you're going to try to learn them by yourself. Maybe you're going to, read books, hire people, etc., etc. There are all kinds of ways. But the point is, you're going to start from a solution. So for instance, here I am on Adalo. And I am, I don't have a problem in front of me. I'm just looking at this app and I'm trying to understand, okay, we have text, we have buttons, we have screens. I can add a screen. I can do all these things. Or here I am on Bubble's website and I want to understand how Bubble works, right? So I heard that Bubble is a great tool. I'm here at the website, I have a free account. And I'm kind of learning. Okay, we have visual elements, we have containers, we have input forms. We have workflows, we have data, we have styles plugins, right? I don't have a problem yet, right? So on this diagram, I'm only looking at the solutions, okay? Now, this is a good strategy, and admittedly, this is a strategy that I took upon myself when I went out and I decided to kind of start this channel and teach you these tools. I had a couple of problems, but for the most part, I was looking at the solutions. I wanted to understand these tools, and I wanted to teach you the capabilities and the limits of these tools so that you can find the right tool for your job. Another really, really powerful way of learning no code and learning everything that you need to know is by starting with a problem. In this way, you're starting from kind of a business endpoint. Okay, you're not thinking about, okay, I want to learn this cool tool. I want to understand Bubble. I want to learn everything there is to know about Bubble. I want to learn plugins. I want to learn this. I want to learn that. You do not even know that Bubble exists. You do not even know that Adalo exists. You do not even know that Appgyver exists. All you want to do is you have a problem. You're like, well, wouldn't it be cool if I create an app that lets me match people interested in pet walkers or pet sitters with people that are willing to provide that service? You are looking at it from a business functionality standpoint, right? So for instance, we have here Adalo, and if I start a new app, if I go in here and I say, well, I want to create a new app, and I say a mobile app, it gives me a template, and all of these templates are, business solutions. These are essentially apps or problems. These are essentially apps that solve a particular problem. So we have ordering, we have appointments, we have to-do list, directory. And you are, maybe you want to build a coaching app where people are interested in, you can match up, coaches with clients, or you want to match up with, personal trainers and clients. You want to match people up. Maybe you want to build Airbnb for cars, right? You're thinking at it exclusively from a business standpoint. And these two methods, right? Learning from a problem, starting from a problem and starting from a solution are radically different. And so I want to talk a little bit about which method is the best here. Now, as I said before, I started out with a solution. I basically started looking at all of these tools, and I wanted to kind of understand the capabilities, the limits, what you can do with these tools, what you can do with these tools, what kind of problems you're going to face, stuff like that. And the reason I went out to do that is because I have an extensive background in software and software engineering, development, etc., etc. And so I can kind of look at these tools and I can decide, okay, given my background, given my professional expertise, given my experience, I can understand, okay, what does Bubble do best? Or what does Appgyver do best? I was not approaching this from a problem standpoint. Although I have built apps before, I built lots of apps before, with this specific project, with this specific kind of area, with this no-code development, I specifically looked at tools. Now, is this a method that I recommend for you guys? No, this is not what I recommend for you guys, because in my opinion, the best way to get started, the best way to learn, the fastest way to learn is really not looking at a tool and learning everything there is to know about the tool. For instance, in my view, it's not the best approach to look at Bubble and learn everything there is about Bubble. Plugins, settings, styles, data, workflow, design. I have videos on pretty much everything there is to know about Bubble. I have videos on plugins, I have videos on styles, I have videos on workflows, etc., etc. But the reason those videos are there is because people are going to search for something and they are having a specific problem to a business objective. And so, for instance, they're developing an app and they're thinking, okay, listen, I can't do this using existing Bubble functionality. I may need to write a plugin. So they go on YouTube, they type something like, Bubble, write a plugin, and they find my video. That does not mean that you should go out and learn about plugins just independently without a specific need. Yes, that is a good way of doing it. And yes, if you have time, if you have the motivation, that method works, right? I like this method personally. But if you're just starting out and you're kind of limited on time and you want to just get things working very, very quickly, what I recommend is starting from a problem. Okay? This is the method I recommend, and in my view, this is a method that will enable you to ramp up your knowledge very, very quickly. Because when you're starting from a problem side, you are working from a correct angle. You are working from having a problem. You're not looking at all the capabilities of Bubble and all the features of Bubble, because in your specific problem, you may not even use all the features of Bubble. You may use something like 20%. I don't know if you guys are aware, but there's something called the Pareto principle, and that essentially states that 80% of the apps can be built with 20% of the features. It's kind of this 80-20 rule, and that rule applies pretty much everywhere, right? Something like 20% of the class graduates get into 80% of the Ivy League schools in the United States, which are essentially top schools. So the idea here is that you're going to be building an app, and 80% of the apps can probably be built with 20% of the features, or maybe it's 70-30 or 80-20. Really, really depends. But what I'm trying to say is that when you're starting with a problem, you're only going to be focusing on things that will help you solve that problem. You're not going to go beyond that. You're not going to go out and learn, the whole alphabet, or if you're learning a foreign language, you don't need to know every single word in that language. You just need to know the words that will help you to communicate and get your point across. It's the same thing with no-code software. You need to learn the functionality that will help you to solve a particular problem, okay? Now, once you guys understand this is only the first part. The second part you guys gotta grasp is, what kind of app are we building? Are we building a web app, a SaaS app? Are we building a mobile app? Are we building a desktop app? Once you understand all of that, when you combine it with the problem, because essentially the kind of app is kind of a subset to this problem, right? So, this would be something like here, type of app, right here, and then this is kind of a connector. The problem is this major thing that we need to solve. This is the main thing. And then once you realize what your problem is, what kind of app you want to build, you kind of need to drill down and figure out the type of app you want to build. So I'm going to change this color. I'm going to make this maybe something like this, just to kind of show that this is a start. And I'm going to make this yellow, okay? And then later on, you're going to extend it, and maybe you have some other thing that you want to talk about, right? So let's do that. And we're going to have another kind of card right here. We're going to have something here. And this is, another aspect of your app. Okay, who is for? The clients, etc., etc. But you got to start with the problem, okay? You got to start from the business side, okay? If you're very, very technical and you have a lot of, experience with coding, you've done development for a long time, and you kind of want to get into no code, you're approaching it from a technical side. That's fine. You don't, you can approach it from a technical side. But for 90% of the people that are watching this video, I would highly recommend starting with a problem. So once you have kind of what you're trying to do, is this going to be an Uber? Is this going to be Airbnb for pets? Is this going to be, whatever? Is this going to be Uber for certain types of people? Maybe for older people, younger people, etc., etc. The next thing, you have to kind of drill down, okay? And that's your business discovery phase. You're essentially trying to figure out what we're trying to do. And this right here is super critical to understand. You never want to think about the technical side, okay? You always want to think about the business side. And not only here, not only when you're kind of thinking about the problem, but also as you're going down the aspect. The way, and this is something that I understood like later on after doing this for a long time, and this is going to help you a lot. The key here is that you want to really delay the technical stuff as far down the road as possible. Because the way you want to think about the technical stuff is that it's there, and it's there to serve you. It's there to fix your problem. And it's going to fix your problem, or you're going to use another tool. That is the way you want to think about. You're not trying to take a problem and mold it in a way that can be solved by a technical tool. No. It doesn't work like that. You have a problem. You think it's a good problem. You think there's a market for it. You think people are going to be interested in your solution because they're experiencing the same problem as well. And as a result, your problem stands. You're not going to, you're not going to change your problem around to fit it into a technical tool. You have a problem. You know that problem exists. You know it's a real problem. And I'm going to show you a couple of examples that we can start with. Only then will you go out and you will pick a tool and you will start utilizing that tool to solve the problem. You're gonna mold that tool to solve your problem, not the other way around. We're not gonna be molding a problem to a tool. We're gonna use that tool for what it's really designed to do, being a tool, right? It's a tool. It's not. It's not this, it's not this like super crazy gizmo app or something like that. It's a tool. It's like a hammer, right? You have a problem. You're going to take a hammer. Okay, hammer is not the right tool. You're going to grab a screwdriver. Okay, what about the screwdriver? Okay, screwdriver doesn't help. We're going to take another tool. You always start with this. And initially in my career, I would start with the technical side. But I've been a lot more successful when I always focus on the problem, the business side, helping people. Because no amount of tool is going to solve your issue if you have a problem that, is lacking, right? If you're fixing something that does not need to be fixed, if your problem is really non-existent, it's only in your head. So you have to make sure that the problem is solid. Your solution is solid, and then the tools are going to solve that problem for you automatically. That's kind of the way you want to think about it. And so let's think about the problem. Now, if you're coming into this, let's say you're just starting out, you don't know, you don't have a problem. You don't have an idea. You don't have an idea for an app. If you already have an idea for an app, great. We're going to get to you in a second. But let's say you're brand new. You just want to understand how they work, and the problem is you don't have a problem. Like you don't know what to build. Well, I'm going to give you a couple of examples, okay? Let me show you a great app, and this app is called Title Case Converter. And I talked about it, I think, in some of the videos a long time ago, but this is a very, very simple app. And it does great things. I use this app multiple times a day. Very simple app. And you can use this app as your small project that's going to be a problem to learn no code. You can use a very, very simple app such as this one to kind of jumpstart your development. Because one thing you guys got to understand is that even if you have like a crazy idea for an app like Airbnb for pets, what you guys got to understand is that if you're building something like an Airbnb of anything or an Uber of anything or anything that already exists today that's successful, chances are it took them a long time to build it. And so if you want to learn, if you're just a beginner, you're just trying to learn, that's kind of what the video is about, how to learn fast, how to, get this knowledge fast, how to become an expert fast. You don't want to start with a crazy project because first of all, it's going to take a long time to build it. Yeah, it doesn't seem like Airbnb is that complicated, like an Airbnb clone and all that. But trust me, when you start building everything out, you know that saying, the devil is in the details? Well, it's absolutely true. Once you start building this whole thing out, you're going to realize there's so many little things and it's going to get tough. And so I do not recommend such a complex project, a big problem, shall we say, for beginners. Even if you have an idea for a big project, I recommend starting out with something simple, something that you can finish relatively quickly. I'm not saying you're going to finish it tomorrow. You may finish it in a couple of days. You may finish it in a week, but you definitely are not going to take like months and months to finish it versus, doing something a lot more complicated. So if you want to do Bubble, you want to do Appgyver, start with a small project like this. It's going to give you motivation. It's going to give you it's gonna give you hope. It's gonna motivate you to complete it, and once you complete it, it's gonna act as a springboard for future, bigger, more complicated projects. So this is very, very important. And so this is a title case converter. So if I type something like this, the fastest way to learn no code, use this method, or something like this method works. This is essentially a title, right? It could be a title for a blog article, for New York Times article, for a video. It doesn't really matter. Now, if I type convert, it's gonna give me a nicely formatted title, and I can kind of pick: do I want a New York Times format? And for the most part, they're gonna be the same. There's some minor differences. You can kind of double click on it. You can click here, and you're gonna learn exactly what it's doing. But what it's doing, right, is it's making it nicer. Take a look at this. This is like, it's capitalized here, but everything else is lowercase. But if you scroll down, it makes it capitalized, right? This is kind of cool. And not everything is capitalized. Like, for instance, to is not capitalized because it is probably used as a preposition or a particle. Okay, so they essentially explain it to you. You don't need to do all that. All you have to do is build an app where you take this input and you get this output according to some rules. That's it. That's all you got to do. And this is what I call a small problem or a small project. And when you take this project, now we know this thing works. We know there's a demand because this site is getting probably millions of hits a month, right? I use it all the time, and I'm definitely not the only one. And everybody if you're creating any kind of content, you're a writer, you're a video producer, you're doing podcasts, anything, you need a title. And that means that you're going to be using a site such as this one to kind of format the title. So this problem exists. So we don't have to worry about this. Problem is solid, right? And they're making money with advertising, or it doesn't really matter how they're making money. The point is there's a demand for it. Now that you realize this thing exists, now you can start thinking about the technical challenges only now. Only after you realize that this is actually a business problem. And now I look at it. Let's say I have no experience with no code. I'm going to be like, well, what should I do? Maybe Bubble is going to help me out. So I go into Bubble and I start building it. And I start I start kind of putting in the pieces. Okay, I'm going to go into Bubble and, I'm going to start a new page. I'm going to add a new page. I'm going to call this a home page, whatever. We're not going to build this tool. I'm just kind of, telling you my thought process. We're going to have an input, multi-line input, right? This is going to be our sentence. We're going to have a button, click. This is going to click, and then we're going to have a result, which is going to be a text. Okay, that's it. Now, of course, there's going to be logic and all that, but you guys can figure it out, right? This is not about, building a bubble app. It's about showing you the right way. Now, when you have the problem, and if you don't have a problem, this is going to be your problem. You can use this as a template to kind of build this tool out. As soon as you realize, okay, I know what to build, you're going to start building and you're going to start learning Bubble rapidly, because you're not going to be thinking about plugins. You're not going to be thinking about styles. You're just going to be thinking about, how do I get this app to work? Okay, I got the UI. Okay, I need a workflow. So I'm going to double click. I'm going to start edit workflow. I'm going to have a workflow. I'm going to, that workflow is going to be the heart of this app. It's going to actually convert that input. So I'm going to come in here. It's going to say data. It's going to make changes to a thing, which is our whatever. You guys understand, right? It's going to do everything. It's going to capitalize it according to the specific rules. And once you create the app, once you understand, once you're done, and this app is very, the scope of this app is very, very simple, you're going to learn something about the Bubble. You're not going to know 100% of Bubble. You're going to learn, a big part of Bubble. It's like when you're learning a foreign language. You don't need to know everything in the foreign language. You just need to know what you need to know, right? In the beginning. Later on, you can learn more of it as your needs change, as your requirements change. And that is why I recommend to starting with this very, very simple project instead of something crazy like Airbnb. Now, let's say you want to build a mobile app, right? So we have type of app, and let's say right here, and let's say this is a card, and we have mobile, and let's say we have another card, and we have a SaaS. Let's say this is a web app, okay? And we have a connector here. So we just talked about the web app. Let's say you want to build a mobile app, okay? What kind of mobile app can you build? Well, you can build a lot of things. You can build Tinder. You can build a dating app. You can build a coaching app. You can build a directory app, chat app, etc., etc. I can tell you that an app like Tinder, even though it may seem simple, I actually have a video on it on Adalo where I built it using Adalo, so you can search on my channel if you want to see how exactly to build it. I can tell you that's going to be a tough project. So even if you don't have a problem here, like you don't know what kind of app to build, even, or maybe you do, like I said, maybe you do, and you want to build something like Tinder, start out with something simple. And what would be a simple app? A simple app would be something like maybe an app that displays a bunch of data. Maybe you have a database here and you have a list of cities and you have a description for the city. So you can create an app that has a list of these cities and you click on it and it gives you a description. Very, very simple app. That's probably the simplest app out there. Another example of a simple app is a to-do list, right? You have a to-do list. You can delete it. You can add a new item. You can click on it and you can see a description, right? You can do something like that. It's up to you, but you want to keep things simple. The reason I'm telling you to do kind of a city description app is because it's going to have two screens. It's going to have a list and it's going to have a detail view. And when you build an app, when you build such an app, you're going to learn a lot about Adalo that you had no idea even existed, right? So that is why it's a lot better starting with a problem instead of kind of looking at Adalo and saying, well, it has screens, it has a database, it has settings. Interesting. What is branding? Like, this is what a lot of people do. They start looking, they're like, what is screens? They do not start from a business side. You always want to start from the business end. And so even though in the beginning I said, okay, I'm looking at it from a technical standpoint, still in my mind, I'm always thinking about the business side because these are tools. They are meant to make my life easier. I am not gonna, I'm not gonna sit there the entire day and think about what is branding, why they call it branding, or why they call it, collection. I don't really care what Adalo did, or they call this, or they call that. I am not trying to become a philosopher of why Adalo decided to name this thing, that. I have a problem. And I need to solve a problem. If Adalo can do it, great. If it cannot, I'm going to move to the next tool. I'm looking at it as tools. Is this a hammer? Do I need a hammer? Okay, I need a hammer. This is a hammer. This is going to work. Or I need a screwdriver. Is this a screwdriver? No, this is a hammer. Okay, I'm going to go to the next tool. You always want to start from that angle. You always want to start from the business angle. And so just to wrap up real quick, you want to start with a problem. If you already have a complicated problem, make sure you start with a simple problem. I gave you a couple of examples for a web app, a SaaS web app, a mobile app, just simple examples. You want to go out and you want to build it, a fully functional app that's very, very simple to build. Once you do that, as you're doing it, you are focusing on reaching the finish line, right? It's kind of like running a marathon or running a race. You're focusing on reaching the end goal, on reaching the finish line. And that is why you don't really care. Like, okay, like I'm here in Bubble, like, why is there, I don't really care about like maps and HTML and video. I don't even know what it does. I mean, I know what it does, but when I'm starting out, I don't need all this stuff. I don't really care. I shouldn't really care. All I care about is getting that app working. That is the mindset you want to have. That is the thinking you want to have. And when you've built a couple of these apps, by focusing on the app as well, you're going to be automatically learning the tool. And you're going to be thinking, wow, this tool is serving me instead of you serving the tool. Because you never want to serve the tool. You want to focus on the business. You want to serve the business. And then this tool should be serving you, right? Because you're paying for this plan. You're spending time on this. It should be helping you. You should not be like a slave to this tool. This tool should be helping you reaching your objectives. And so that is the way you want to do it. That's how I learned these tools. That's how I kind of started my career a long time ago, by focusing on the problem and really understanding kind of the technical solutions. Now that I have experience, now that I've done it many, many times, I can kind of look from a technical side, but I'm always looking at kind of the business side. Starting from the business side is automatic because I want these tools to serve me instead of the other way around. And that is the way you want to be doing things as well. All right, guys. So I really hope this video helped you out. I really hope now you kind of have a game plan of how you're going to go about learning how these tools work, helping them in your business objectives, in your kind of financial objectives, whatever your needs are, and even improving your existing skill sets and taking them to the next level. So if you enjoyed this video, you've gotten a lot of value out of it, definitely give this video a fat like. Leave a comment below to let me know if you have any questions or comments, or you just want to say thanks. That is highly appreciated. And definitely do not forget to subscribe to this channel if you want to see more of no-code training. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys real soon.